Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning into this week's episode. I have with me today on the show the founder and owner of Tehaus Creative Co, a locally based creative resource company here out of Abilene. And I have some questions I'm going to ask him. Go ahead and introduce yourself to us, Braden.
What's up? I'm Braden. I'm the founder and owner of Tehaus Creative, and born and raised in Abilene. So it's fun to still do this kind of stuff here in Abilene. So.
Well, I really appreciate you being with us today. How are you doing?
Doing well. Trying to get used to this. It's weird being on this end of the podcast. Usually I'm asking people the questions, so I'm glad this is fun. This will be interesting.
Yeah, good times. Well, kind of a first off thing, I feel like it might be an obvious question for people who haven't heard of your company before. Why would you have named it Tehaus? You heard me struggle to pronounce it earlier, so I'm just curious kind of where that came from and what inspired you to create something.
Yeah, well, there's not really a great story behind it. It's I was searching on a font library store online, and there's a font called Tehaus, Tehaus, and I was like, that's pretty cool. So I was like, maybe I use that for a name. I'm Texas guy, Texas boy, and I just like the way it was spelled. I like the way it looked, and so I'm also not one of those people that will like spend forever, just freaking out about what am I going to name this thing. So I was like, that's cool. It looks great. Tehaus. Now it's kind of bit me in the butt a little bit because no one knows how to spell it. Is it Tehaus? Is it Tehaus? So it comes with its negative drawbacks. Nobody in the world knows how to say it. It's Tehaus, just like the Spanish word for Texas.
That's
except
cool.
It's spelled a little weird. So anyways, there's no fun story about the background. It's a font there. So I decided to use that.
I like that. I think that's kind of fun. I bet it's interesting with people, like it draws attention to you if they don't know what it means. Does that ever draw some crowds to your business if they just like run across it and don't really like recognize it at
Yeah,
first?
It's interesting. I started as Braden Collum Creative Company, but I realized I didn't want just me to be the person. Like at some point I wanted to build a business where other people are also involved, and so it's not just Braden Collum. So that's when I started the journey of like, what can I call this without it being Braden Collum Design or Braden Collum Creative Company. So saw that name. I was like, that's pretty cool. I like that. Let's just go with it.
Yeah, no, that's great. So what kind of work do you do with Tehaus and all the people that you get to work with in different companies in Abilene?
Yeah, so it's morphed a little bit since I started it. Originally started with just doing creative services like graphic design, photography, and web design. And kind of since then, so I launched Tehaus in 2016. So was it 5 years ago now? And I really just wanted to do those things. But since then, I've grown new skills, new passions, and have expanded that a little bit. So now I do video, do different types of photography. At the beginning, it was really kind of just travel and some sports. But then I did concert photography, portraits, weddings, studio, product, commercial, really whatever people need. If they want photos, I'll do it, and video, and it's kind of expanded. But pretty recently, beyond just the creation content, been really passionate about not just creating, but also empowering creators. And so kind of it split Tehaus a little bit into two, where we create, but we also empower. And so we teach creatives how to do stuff. I never wanted to be that guy who just kind of kept all my secrets because I can't stand those creative people who are kind of stuck up and arrogant, and I'm not going to share anything because I want to succeed and I want you to not be my competition. I feel like that's so lame. And so I wanted to be really anti that. I wanted to give you all of my secrets, and I want to answer all your questions and help you become a thriving, incredible creative on your own, because I didn't learn this on my own. And so I want to be a resource to people, and I want Tehaus to be a resource for people. So we do teachings and trainings and have resources online for creatives, whatever their background, whatever their skill set, to also just take the next step and growing in their skills. So a little bit twofold. We create, but Tehaus also helps empower fellow creatives.
I really like that. I like that a lot. I think that's really cool. Like you mentioned, a lot of creative companies I've encountered at least are not that way, and it's very much like we want you to pay us, and so that we get money and you get what you want. But that's all. So I
Yeah.
really think a partnership is a cool concept, especially with so many young creatives around in Abilene.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure. It's been fun.
Yeah, no. So you've mentioned a lot of different types of things you've gotten to kind of get your feet wet in the industry in the past couple of years. Do you have anything that's your favorite, thing you like to create, thing you like to shoot, any type of video, anything like that?
I think my favorite thing I've ever done, and this goes back to my passion. I'm also a musician, and so I'm big into music as well. But probably my
Ooh.
favorite thing I've ever done was I got to travel for a few dates with Colony House while they're a band. And so they came to Texas, and I sent them an email. I was like, hey, if you guys need someone to shoot photos, let me know while you're in Texas, and I'll go to your shows. I missed one show, the show in Waco I couldn't make, but Houston and Dallas I was actually with them and got to shoot 2 of their shows. And it was like, I love Colony House. They're incredible. They're an incredible band. And so it was fun just to be there, but it was fun to meet them and hang out with them a little bit and shoot their shows. It was a blast. So that's probably the pinnacle. My favorite thing I've ever done is shoot concert photography just because I love music so much. But sports is so fun to me. I'm also a sports guy, and photography is real fun. I'm getting more and more into video, and that's a lot of fun. I love just to grow and learn new things. I'm never that guy who's like just wants to do one thing and then sit there for a while. It's like, okay, got it. What's next? What can I challenge myself with? And so I'm always moving on to the next thing that I can learn and do and try out. So
No, I found myself to be the same way. It's interesting that I'm never really satisfied with just learning one thing and moving on. It's like I wanna keep getting new stuff and playing with new toys and learning new skills. It's fun.
yeah, for real. And the hard part with the industry is that everyone will tell you need to pick a niche, or is it niche? How do you pronounce it?
I say niche, but I don't think it matters.
Niche. You're so fancy. I say niche. It just sounds more Texan. I go niche. Niche sounds so fancy. I've never said it in that way. Anyways, but yeah, you always hear in the industry, you need to pick your niche, your niche, and you stick with it. And I just haven't got there yet. I'm like, I don't want to. I want to try out so many different things and learn a lot of different. It may hurt me in my professional career or whatever, but I want to do work that's fulfilling, not just for a paycheck. And so,
Well, I think that's kind of honorable too. It's like it makes your company mean more. At least to me, as a young creative that's still figuring stuff out. It's like there's somebody that wants to do that too. That's not a young creative anymore. It's like actually got a business.
yeah,
And all kinds of stuff. So I think that's really cool.
yeah.
You said
Yeah.
you toured with Colony House and you missed the Waco show.
Towards a
Was that
stretch here.
well,
Towards a stretch. I just got to
a
hang out with
section.
some cities while they were in
Yeah.
Texas. Anyways, but yeah, we can say, I
But-
toured with the band. That sounds really cool.
I think you can use that for the credit. Might as well. But
All
was
right, I will.
that around spring break when you went? Because I was at the Waco show for they toured. Texas
Yes,
over
yeah,
spring
that
break.
was, it was spring break 2017,
Something like
2018
that.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
was such a
I
fun-
couldn't go to the Waco
fun
show,
show.
but I hit the. They're so good.
I love them.
I emailed them. I was talking to them again about hanging out with them for their tour, the next tour. But then it all cratered, and so whatever.
Sometime again, I'm sure.
Didn't happen. Maybe again. I'll reach out and see. I would love to keep doing that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I love concert photography. It's a really fun way to get to be creative in other ways that you don't typically get to be with just plain old portraits and sports and stuff. All kinds of
Yeah, and you
colors.
get to be at a concert.
for free.
Yeah, come on. And depending, you might get paid. You might not. I don't know, but that's also a perk.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think just one other thing I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
about. You've mentioned a lot how you are like using your company, your skills, your opportunities to not only like grow yourself and your own skill set as well, but also like make sure that you get to teach people around you and that you're spreading that to the city, to whoever you end up getting to work with in the future. So is there any kind of advice that you would have for young creatives in the town like me that are just looking for opportunities and ways to learn?
Man, there's a lot of advice. That's such an open-ended question. I think one of the big things for me, as I was getting started, is just send emails asking for opportunities and being willing to do it for no pay. That was huge for me growing up in this industry. It's just saying, hey, I'll find someone on the internet that I wanted to work with, or I'll find, DM someone on Instagram to say, hey, if you ever need this, I'll do it, and I'll do it for free just so I can get the experience and hustle and be able to add that to my portfolio. So that's a huge aspect that I think a lot of young creatives need to learn and need to do, is just reach out. The worst they can say is no, and the best thing they can do is say absolutely. I'll see, and you'll be like, oh gosh, okay, they said yes, so what am I going to do? Just ask for opportunities. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of emails and DMs, and hey, if you need someone, I can do this, and I'd love to help out. Another thing I would say is customer service will bring you more success than your talent ever will. And so I think a lot of young creatives think that if they become the best at what they do, they'll be successful. Or the reality is that actually you need to focus on your customer service and treating people well. And that's what's going to lead you to success, because everyone's just as talented as you. There's more people out there that are more talented than you, but nobody has to treat people better than you do. So if you do that, you're setting yourself up for long-term success. Yeah, and the other one, I would say, the third thing I would say for young creatives is keep growing, find people who are better than you, and then find out what makes them better, and then try to emulate that and incorporate those things into your profession, into your craft. A lot of people say comparison's bad. I would say in the industry that we're in, the creative industry, comparison can be a really good thing because it can keep you growing. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at the pros and you're looking, like for me, I look at big names. I don't look at people here in Abilene. I don't look at people here, even here in Texas. I'm looking at people who have like national and global influence in their creative stuff, their design, their content, whatever. And I'm saying, what is making them successful, and how can I implement that to what I do? And so I'm always doing that, always challenging how I can get better, seeing who's killing it right now, and then trying to just incorporate some of those techniques or tools into my own craft. And so that's what I would say to the people who are still growing. Find people who are really, really, really good and figure out what makes them really good, and then try to hone. Don't copy them, but kind of figure out how can I implement some of those strategies or tools that they have. So
yeah, no, I think
long-winded answer, but
no, it's just fine. I think that's really great. With so many people don't like comparing themselves because they're like afraid of it, and it's become important for me kind of in the same way. Just with learning, like I have to open.
Yeah, one of the things I always tell people is just to embrace the suck. Like as soon as you realize that you kind of suck, you'll let down those walls, because we are creatives, artists are kind of insecure in their art, in their craft. But as soon as you just put your walls down, you say, you know what, I'm not awesome right now, then you'll get over a lot of that pretense and actually start growing quicker when you just embrace that, hey, I kind of suck right now, but I don't want to stay there, so I keep growing. So
yeah, no, it creates a lot of opportunities for really cool materials and growth.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. That's all we have time for, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.